Yeah, I guess I'm originally from Arizona. I'm currently at the Fine Arts Work Center in Provincetown, Massachusetts. And this work is from a period of time when I was in Richmond, Virginia. So actually, it's a little bit older, but one of the important factors in this piece and all of my work, kind of post maybe around 2005, has been working exclusively in salvaged or borrowed or kind of bartered materials, but essentially not just recycled materials, but kind of more descriptively would be not entering the new market at any point, not using those, not using raw materials that were created for the sake of being consumed. So every single element in this installation is, minus the drawings, is all from gotten through other means, except for the hardware. So one of the ways I feel like that can be entered into while looking at the work is through the materials list, which there isn't one for this installation, but I guess a brief description would be there's the wood in the base was salvaged from arson houses in Richmond. All of the plastics were gotten from various light industrial areas on the outskirts of town. Deals made with people who run manufacturing corporations and things like that, climbing rope, fishing lures, things like that, are all just various things that I picked up over a period of time, and gathered in this kind of like rat's nest of a studio. And but kind of one of the points in the way that ends up linking to some of the conceptual framework of the piece is trying to cultivate a studio practice that kind of starts to say something about this, trying to cultivate a post-apocalyptic studio practice in a way, as if you're in, I guess if you're in this post-apocalyptic future, you're hoarding all of these materials because the new market is actually totally unavailable. So the skull on the base there is actually a representation of the auroch, which is the prehistoric progenitor of like modern cattle, that went extinct totally about 16,000 years ago, and it was the ancestor that was domesticated by peoples of Western Europe, and the measurements were taken from a specimen at the Smithsonian in DC. So it's made entirely out of high-density polyethylene, which is a petroleum-based plastic. So essentially it's made out of compressed organic matter, and then it's been reconstituted into a fossil. So the entire skull is all made out of material that's not going to biodegrade ever. There are no microbes that have evolved to process it, and so it's one way or another, it's going to enter the geologic record of the Anthropocene, which is the human geologic era. And so the entire skull portion of it, minus the jaw, is all made out of that material up until this very last point, which is actually a turned bison horn from my grandfather. He used to turn retirement pens, and they would turn out of turtle shell, bison horn, things like that. So ostensibly there's actually similar DNA between that one bit of bison horn on the tip and what the entire thing is representing. But kind of the operative word that I feel like pulls this installation together is empire, in the sense that all of these elements in here, I mean, the piece is called "The Sun Never Sets," which is a reference to the kind of motto of the British Empire, and it's kind of maybe pointing more towards the American Empire. But I feel that a lot of these elements, the conceptual elements and also the material elements, are cast off from empire. There's the end of the post-industrial empire of America in Richmond. Arson houses, cities that are being emptied of their people, abandoned houses, and you have this kind of violence that happens. And so there are those elements with the wood, but then it also kind of pulls back into deep history of empire. And so you have the kind of agricultural revolution, the domestication of cattle, things like that, and then this this clue knot is actually the name of that climbing rope spread. It's from it's an old hammock knot that kind of started with indigenous peoples in the tropics, but was co-opted by the U.S. military in Korea, and so that's actually, that knot came from military Korean handbook on how to make your own epic. But it's been dyed to kind of represent a sunset, but a perpetual sunset. That's kind of held out, isn't it? So then I guess do I have a little more to explain a little bit about the drawings?
Yeah, I'd love to hear about the drawings, please.
So both the drawings are they're representations of iconic images of two men. That's Haj Ali Al-Qasi, who's the hooded figure from Abu Ghraib, and then this one is Tenzing Norgay, who's the first Sherpa to summit Mount Everest, along with Edmund Hillary. And the reason I kind of landed on those two people is that they are two people who have interesting and problematic relationships to Western Empire. So, I mean, this obviously with the Iraq War and kind of nation building, and this one with this kind of recruitment of local people for, like, I don't know, flag sticking, which the British Empire was engaged in a lot in the early 20th century. But then the skulls are fossil humans that one's Tetralona 1 and that's Cro-Magnon, and they're actually both early Homo sapiens that were mislabeled, but the skulls are from a period in human history when both the people that ultimately became the Sherpas and the Iraqis diverged from the people who became Western European. So it's kind of like the skulls represent both the oppressors and the victims. And both those skulls were found in stalactites in caves in France and Greece. And so they're kind of like meditations and family portraits of these weird situations involving empire.
Is it quite like it's like a landscape structure almost? To me, it feels like when the drawings. Can you explain to me a little bit more about, like, because you started off with the skulls, and what inspired you to do the drawings in these particular shapes?
They're both from the iconic images, like Haj Ali Al-Qasi
was
the Haj Ali Al-Qasi was the hooded figure at Abu Ghraib in the black hood, and so it's like a bust. The shape, it's the outline of the hood. So this would be his shoulders where the hood's draped out, and then he has the hood over his head. So it's kind of, and then Tenzington's Edmund Hillary, but there's only one of Tenzing Norgay, just this Sherpa from this village, and you know, they got along really well. He wasn't oppressed, but it's still a complicated relationship. So that's it's a statue of him holding up a flag in the big hooded vest with a respirator on. So that's where those two are. And then all of the